Mr. Doggett, would you like to inquire?
Thank you for your testimony. Dr. Davis, you may be familiar with a report the National Women's Law Center is releasing today that shows that the overwhelming majority of these private health plans don't include maternity coverage, or if they do, it is in a form of a supplemental rider that has a long waiting period and is prohibitively expensive. I recently received communication from a realtor in Austin who said, "I'm considering not having a baby because I'm concerned that as a self-employed person, I will have out-of-pocket expenses exceeding $10,000. I have health insurance, but it doesn't cover maternity. I'm a college-educated person, but I'm afraid of the health care cost in this country." How can insurers in the individual insurance market claim to meet the needs of women if maternity coverage is so difficult to get and is so inadequate?
I think you've just pointed to one of the major differences between employer coverage and coverage in the individual market. When people get employer coverage, they get it by virtue of getting a job or being the spouse of a worker, and it would cover maternity care on the same basis as other services, perhaps even lower cost sharing for prenatal care. But as you point out, if you're buying coverage in the individual market, and as Mr. Badakin stressed, the insurers are concerned that you're only buying coverage because you expect to be pregnant, expect to use the services. So as a result, as you stress, they either don't cover maternity benefits at all, or they charge very high rates for that coverage. I think we all know that investment in prenatal care has high payoff in terms of fewer low birth weight babies, fewer premature babies. A number of years ago, the Institute of Medicine estimated that every dollar spent on prenatal care saved $3 because of having healthier babies. So I think that this is exactly the kind of benefit that one would be very concerned that one would lose if one were to shift more people into the individual market.
Let me ask you another question. Ms. Kaufman may have some observations on this too. There are actually people that sit on this side of the dais on this committee who advocate a point of view that boils down to the fact that if you just charge high enough premiums on these high-cost policies with big deductibles to individuals, they'll make more rational health care choices. I received another communication from a woman in Austin who consults with individuals and with corporations on how to cut their energy costs by being more energy efficient. And she says, "I've been self-employed for 27 years. For 10 of those years, I've had no health insurance due to the cost. Thankfully, I'm healthy and fit at 50 plus. I now have a catastrophic health insurance policy. It covers nothing unless I'm hit by a train. There's a $5,000 deductible and so much mumbo-jumbo on who pays for what it would take a team of lawyers to figure out. So I avoid doctors, checkups, testing, and take the best care of myself as possible and pray that nothing unforeseen happens." Do you find that with these high-cost private policies, like Brenda Cross has, the woman who wrote me there in Austin, that the nature of those policies affect the health care decisions that consumers are making?
You're absolutely right that those who are in high deductible health plans are very dissatisfied with the coverage. Only about a third are satisfied with their coverage. Most would not recommend the plan to a family member or friend. Most would get out of those plans if they had any other alternatives available to them. Those that are in the high deductible plans, whether they're with a savings account or without a savings account, more likely to report not getting needed care. They are much more likely to report difficulty with medical bills, with medical debt. It's all part of this shifting more and more financial risk to families. When it's covered by the plan, it's covered by the premium, it's shared between the employer and the worker. When it's in the deductible, only the worker pays for those deductible expenses. Some are fortunate enough to have employers making a contribution to a health savings account, but over a third have no contribution from their employers, and others have very modest amounts of money in their account. They are simply not able to handle the financial risk that this push toward skimpier and skippier policies has created.
Ms. Kaufman, do you have experience with that?
A couple of thoughts. First of all, I think the higher costs, both for premiums and out-of-pocket costs, whether it's co-insurance or co-pays or other out-of-pocket, it's like a silent disease that's killing off the middle class.
Right.
And we need help to stabilize, to keep families healthy, to keep workers at work. We need to help people financially, not take away what they have now. Many families are struggling. We know that the leading cause of personal bankruptcy in America is an illness, and we know that the majority of those filers had health insurance. It just wasn't enough to cover them. While we are engaged in all this talk about perhaps some being overinsured and buying too much, we live in the wealthiest nation in the world, and arguably we provide the least for people who need it the most. We let 18,000 people die each year, preventable deaths, because they have no coverage. And more people are struggling to pay their bills to maintain their health coverage. I would argue that we need more help, more financial resources, more real solutions to address the cost drivers to make sure everyone gets coverage and it's fair and just.
Thank you for helping us lay the groundwork for real reform next year with a new president.